Hi everybody, and welcome to another watercolor tutorial. Today we're going to be painting this really cute bumblebee, so let's just get right into it. The first thing you want to do is very lightly pencil in the shape of your bumblebee, and it's going to have 5 sections. 2 of them are going to be yellow and 3 of them are going to be black, sort of alternating. So the head and the tail, or the end portion of your bumblebee, those are going to be black, and then yellow, and then black again in the center. So what we want to do first is start with the yellow sections of our bumblebee. So you're going to fill those in, and you want to add quite a bit of pigment and water because we want those yellow sections to stay wet throughout the duration of us painting the body of the bumblebee. Because when we paint in the black sections, we want a little bit of that black to bleed into the yellow and make it look furry, like give off this appearance that the bumblebee is furry, which it is if you've ever looked at a bumblebee. But you do want to avoid what you just saw, which was these really large blotchy sections of black bleeding into the yellow, because that doesn't look like fur or hair. That just looks like you made a mistake. So what we can do to remedy that is use a very, very thin brush, as you can see me using here, and gently guide the black onto the yellow, just so that it's evenly spread out and evenly bleeding into the yellow, and this will create this really nice furry hair effect because you're guiding the black onto the yellow with these tiny hairline strokes. As always, I've linked the items and the paintbrushes that I use in the description of this video. I love this brush that I have by Winsor & Newton. It's the Quadruple Zero, and I highly encourage you to purchase that one if you've ever, considered buying a really thin brush. I love this one, and I've been using it for about a year now, so highly recommend. Anyways, you want to create that furry effect on the entire bumblebee, so not just where the sections connect to the yellow, but also on the outside. So you can paint these really thin hairline strokes sort of coming outside the bumblebee as well, but you're basically just filling in those black sections around the yellow, making sure to guide that black onto the yellow gently. And this is also why we wanted to apply a lot of yellow at the beginning, like a lot of pigmented yellow with water, because we want it to stay wet during the duration of us painting the body of the bumblebee. So you also want to make sure that you're adding the antennae of the bumblebee and the legs. When you're painting the legs, you want them to be super thin, but you don't want to be like really hyper specific and detailed. You kind of want to make them look like the legs are barely connected to each other. Like if you've ever looked at an insect's legs, they look very, very strange and thin and just connected in the weirdest places. So the rougher that the legs look and the more irregularly shaped that they are, the more realistic it's going to look. Once your body has completely dried, you want to start painting the wing of the bumblebee. So as you can see, we left that center black section, we kind of left a triangular space there, and that's because that is where the wing of our bumblebee is going to connect to the body of it. So you're going to basically take super, super watered down black or gray to paint in the wing section, because a wing is usually translucent or a little like a cloudy white almost, but we want to differentiate it from the white of the paper, so we did want a little bit of pigment there, but just make sure it's super, super light, just enough so that there's a contrast between the wing and the white piece of paper. You can also use your super thin brush dipped in black watercolor to create these harsh lines in kind of random areas on the wing, because wings aren't just like this one, panel. They're made up of all of these intricate little details, and we don't necessarily want to replicate all those details, but by adding these random lines everywhere, it kind of makes it look a little bit more similar to what a wing actually looks like. And that's basically it for the bee itself. I wanted to spruce up the painting and add some honeycombs, which I thought looked really cute, and this is really easy. You basically start by painting on a super watered down yellow blotch wherever you want your honeycomb to be. Once that has completely dried, you paint on yellow hexagon shapes next to one another. And while they're still wet, you add a tiny bit of orange, and then finally you outline the honeycombs, not necessarily the full honeycomb, but maybe like 3 or 4 sides of it with brown watercolor. And this adds depth to your honeycomb because it makes it look like some of the honeycombs are filled with honey and some of them aren't. But basically you just repeat this step over and over until you are happy with the size of your honeycomb. So again, you paint on the yellow hexagon shape, then you add a little dab of orange, and finally you outline a portion of it with brown watercolor. And you just repeat that until you are happy with the size of it. Anyways, that is about it for today's painting, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in next week's tutorial.